Um, so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna ask us to mute just for now, and then if we want to talk later on or bring somebody on, I'll have you unmute. But I want to welcome you today to the December 2020 Magic Action Date. And our topic is how to be the best perfectionist ever, which of course I say with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek. But um, I just wanted to share some thoughts and ideas that I have about this. And so if you'd like to, as people are coming in, maybe they'll see this in the chat. I just want to let you know that the chat is available through the little bubble at the bottom of the screen. And if you want to put your type your name and where you're calling in from into the chat, so that if people join us later, they can see that that's been started. And I know some of you know each other, but some of you don't. So that would be great. Also, if you have a comment or a question, feel free to pop that in the chat. And if it's a question, just put in all caps question. And so I can hopefully see that out of the corner of my eye and be sure to catch that. So I am Jill Allison Bryan. I'm a master Kaizen Muse creativity coach and the founder of Creative Oasis Coaching. I help multi-passionate creatives focus and follow through on their personal and professional creative projects, passions, and pursuits. I have coached hundreds and hundreds of people around the globe since 2008, helping them to do just that. And so what is a multi-passionate creative? Oh, this is what we're talking about today, how to be the best perfectionist ever. A multi-passionate creative is a person who has many interests and passions, whether they are for their own personal use or their business or doing good in society. Usually a person who sees possibility everywhere. And also, again, usually a lifelong learner, somebody that has that kind of thirst for knowledge and always wants to be learning new things. And enjoys a variety of creative endeavors and experiences. And so sometimes because they do, or you enjoy and you have so many interests, it can be difficult to turn those creative dreams into reality. And so that's where I come in. I help people to focus in, follow through, and get their shit done. Quit talking about it, quit dreaming about it, quit thinking about it, and get it accomplished. And if you're already accomplishing what you want, helping you take it to the next level and getting very specific with what does that mean? What does that look like? How are we going to make that happen? So I've personally, in the past 2 years, my business has just blown up with some of the newer things that I have learned. I've been able to triple and then double the amount of work that I'm doing, and I'm helping my clients do that as well. And so we're going to just touch on a couple of things that I share with my clients and that I use myself during today's call. So today's call, what you can expect to experience is we're going to start with the permission giving guided imagery. And then we're going to do a playful creative writing exercise to kind of take a creative and fun look at what it means to be the best perfectionist ever for each of us individually. And then we're going to take a look at some of the sneaky perfectionist thoughts that we might not even realize are fueling our perfectionism. We're going to really look at those and then not only look at them and see what they're doing, but then also how we can change them. And then at the end of the call, I'm going to give you an invitation. If you want to go deeper with this work, there are a couple ways to do that. Tomorrow night, I'm hosting what I call a Magic Action Deep Dive, which is a 4-hour accountability virtual retreat. And it is an amazing way to get shit done. You have not only the accountability of me and the group, you have a little prep work that you do ahead of time. So you come to the deep dive knowing exactly what you want to do. We have built-in breaks set into it, and it's just the most fun way to dive in and really get something accomplished in a big way. So, and then the clarity call is an hour with me where it's just me and you, and I am looking at helping you look at your thoughts, where you are on your creative journey, where you want to be, what's holding you back, and then what it would look like and the possibility of how you can get to where you want to be. So that's a pretty fun and powerful, amazing hour that you get to spend. No judgment of somebody really helping you take a look at where you are now, where you want to be, and how that's possible. So we're going to start, as I said, with the guided imagery. And so I love sharing guided imageries, and I love helping people to enjoy them. really all you need to do right now is just close your eyes and get comfortable and receive this. I'm going to share this to bring you into the moment, to help you get into the right frame of mind for today's magic action date. I want you to give yourself the gift of turning off your phone or setting it away for the next 60 minutes or so, shutting off all the other screens on your computer, turning off the notifications, and giving yourself the gift of being fully present during our time together. Make sure you have a pencil or a pen, a journal, something to write with before we begin. Um, and you chose to be here, whether you're here with me live or whether you're watching this replay. So the next step is to really give yourself the gift of experiencing it fully. So with both feet on the ground to ground you and your eyes closed, make yourself as comfortable as possible in your seat and take a nice deep breath as you relax into your seat. And feel the comfort of knowing that you are fully supported by the chair and your chair is fully supported by the floor. And the floor is fully supported by the earth below. And take another nice deep breath just into this feeling of being fully supported in the moment. And I invite you to do a gentle body scan. And just notice if you're holding any tension or stress somewhere in your body. You might not even have realized it. Begin at the top of your head and slowly moving down. Just notice if there's any tension in your neck or your shoulders, your jaw, your lower back. And if you do sense any tension, simply take a nice deep breath. And on the exhale, imagine that you're allowing that tension to release. And I want you to, another way that you can give yourself permission to really be here fully and presently for our time together is know that any of the to-dos that you have or the emails or the phone calls, they will be waiting for you when when our time together is over. And know that by giving yourself permission to experience this magic action date fully, you are taking your first step to really moving past perfectionism or reframing it in a way that works best for you. And so, from this place of permission and relaxed and supported present moment, I invite you to imagine that you are holding a beautiful woven basket on your lap. And your lovely basket is empty and it's ready to receive wonderful new thoughts, ideas, possibilities, creative ideas that will help you to move forward on your creative journey. And I invite you to take one more deep breath into that possibility, the possibility that our time together today, during that time, your basket will be filled with the exact thoughts, experiences, and ideas that you need to move past any perfectionistic blocks you might have, past anything that might be holding you back, and help you to dive easily and fluidly into a satisfying state of creative flow. So I'd like you to take one more nice deep breath into that being a possibility for you right now. And then gently open your eyes and come back into the present moment and grab something to write with. And I want you to imagine that you are meeting one by one a variety of uh, perfectionist personalities who reside somewhere in your mind. And we're going to allow them to each have their say regarding a current creative endeavor that you are working on or that you want to be working on. And so the first the first line of the first type of perfectionist is the pompous perfectionist. And what does your pompous perfectionist have to say? So just let yourself, there's nothing too silly, there's nothing too serious. It's whatever you want. Whatever, here's the thing about prompts like this. Whatever comes out is in your mind. So if we get it out via humor, if we get it out via just going for it, it's in there somewhere. And that's why we're using these prompts. So the first, my pompous perfectionist says. Number two, my playful perfectionist says. Number 3, my irritating perfectionist says. Number 4, my imperfect perfectionist says. Number 5, my 5-star platinum perfectionist says. And finally, my good enough, we were just talking about, my good enough perfectionist says. Now, when you read back over what these 6 different perfectionist voices in your head had to offer, and again, knowing that, right, whatever we came up with is in our head somewhere, secretly or not so secretly lurking in our mind. And this is a chance to just playfully bring it out into the open and then intentionally choose how we're going to use that thought moving forward. So I want you to read over the 6 messages you received and just choose the one that you feel like you would most like to be. And from that choice, we're going to do one more little Mad Libs type exercise to help you write the story of what is your version of the best perfectionist ever. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love for you to pop into the chat which perfectionist was the one that you chose, which voice spoke to you the most. Then you feel like, okay, I could work with this. This could actually help me move forward on my creative journey, this type of perfectionist and what they had to say. And in fact, I'd love to know too, like what they had to say. And since there's just a few of us here today, actually, if you want to raise your hand and actually share. Sherry, did you want to share?
I'm trying to get on the chat. I see Jane and I
Uh-huh.
see Jenny, but it says to everyone or to Jill.
I think to everyone, if you post, it'll pop up on the.
Okay, and where I don't see a arrow to send it. Can you give me directions?
It should just let you. The white box should pop up, and
I did.
then you should be able to type at the bottom of it.
I
Give
did.
that a try. There you go.
Oh, it did.
Hello, I'm Dragonfly from Dallas. We see you now. Good.
Okay, one simple item, right? Push the button.
Perfect. Good. Thank you for raising your hand to ask. So Jane's, my good enough said, I'd like to try at least. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. Which one did you pick, Sherry? Which one spoke to you?
Um, my playful perfectionist side, have fun, organize my stuff, let other people have my treasures. I love the way it makes me feel.
That's nice. That's playful and abundant, a very abundant mindset.
Now,
So
there were some critical ones in here.
oh,
They all were
sure,
fun.
sure. That's why, and that's why we take a look at them this way because, like I said, they're in there. Even if we're not, if we try to push them down or try to ignore them, they're still in there somewhere. So, okay. So, what about you, Jenny? Did you?
Uh, I liked the playful perfectionist.
Mhm.
Just try it. You know, you love to play with materials. So, not worrying about the outcome, but
Mhm.
instead just
Yeah,
getting into the
nice.
flow and doing it.
Mhm.
Just do
I-
it.
Mary Beth, if you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. Do you want to type in which perfectionist you chose to or spoke to you the most, or you felt like, okay, I can receive what she's trying to say to me? You could do that while we do that. I'm going to share with you um, this little Mad Libs type exercise that's going to end up with you having written the story of my best perfectionist ever story. So my name is blank, and I am a blank perfectionist. And you can choose one of the ones that we just looked at or a different one if you want to. When it comes to my creative endeavors, I always blank. And I almost never blank. I love the way I blank, even when I blank. My creative life became a whole lot more fun and fulfilling when I finally realized that I could blank without blank. I'm going to leave those prompts up there for another minute or so you can go back and write your story. Fill in any if I ran through those a little bit quickly. And I am happy to share first mine. So just get the ball rolling if somebody else wants to share too. But my name is Jill, and I am an imperfect perfectionist. When it comes to my creative endeavors, I always look for ways to make them delightfully doable, and I never look for ways to make them more difficult. I love the way I can break anything down into super small steps, even when I'm feeling overwhelmed. My creative life became a whole lot more fun and fulfilling when I said goodbye to my gold-plated 5-star perfectionist side.
Wow, that's great. I want what you're having. Wow.
Available to you. You can take that. Take that and use it.
Wow, what framing. Wow.
Well, it's a lot, and I wouldn't say it's cheating, but it is basically it's my philosophy of the coaching that I do, is using the small steps, is giving myself permission, is releasing inner critic voices. So all of that thought is basically baked into the coaching that I do, which I self-coach. It's not just do as I say, not as I do. I feel like part of my work is to be an example of what is possible and to do the work myself. So it starts with me, and then I can help other people do that as well. So
Bravo.
would anybody else be willing or want to share your best perfectionist ever story?
I'm not quite done.
Okay. Give another minute or so to wrap up. Yeah, and Mary Beth, you can definitely see why, and we're going to go further into the thought work part of it later on, but how a thought like, why bother, you aren't good, would not really energize you to take any creative action, and how it would keep you from wanting to take creative action. So it's pretty powerful thought.
Apparently don't have a microphone unless I have a camera. So
Oh, okay.
I agree with Dragonfly, whoever that was. I wanted to fill in that whatever you said is like, you should print that out and send it to all of us like a little mantra.
Could you? That would be really appreciated.
On the follow-up email, I'll be happy to do that. I sure will. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that just, if I said that every day, then maybe it would get past the why bother part.
It would certainly help. And so, and I will tell you, I spend a little time every day. My journaling has transformed and grown in its intentionality over the years. And where it used to be just a brain dump, now it's much more this kind of a thing where I'm actually like thinking, what, looking for the thoughts that aren't serving me, like why bother, you aren't good, and replacing them with, I'm perfect in my imperfection. I'm always looking for ways to make things delightfully doable, and those kind of thoughts. So, okay, anybody ready? Anybody want to share their story?
Sure, I will.
Okay, great.
My name is Jenny, and I am an imperfect perfectionist. I always have negative thoughts, and I almost never feel that what I do is perfect enough. I love the way I get into a creative flow, even when those thoughts are loud. My creative life became a whole lot more fun and fulfilling when I realized that I could create something without worrying about a future customer.
Nice.
Very
Good.
good.
Glad the prompts were able to get you to, even
Well,
if a bit forcefully, get to that side of like, okay, what's the
right.
positive
The
side
imperfect
of this? Yeah.
perfectionist. Yeah, the imperfect perfectionist is, if you are a perfectionist, then things probably are actually never perfect enough for you. So that makes you perfect. Anyway, but
Exactly. It's very meta, but it's, yeah. Okay. So I want to actually give you some time, and we might shorten this a little bit because I really want to get to the thought work. And actually, I think well, no, I can't do that because that would not be perfect. No, I've got my slides to. But if you're not familiar yet with it, and I know some of you are, but Sherry, you may not be, and some of the people that are going to be watching the replay may not be, my magic action planning process. I'll send that in the download as well, which comes with a video and a planner and how to use it. But the abbreviated version I'm going to share with you today in its very simplest form is download, decide, do. And so if you have a creative project where your sneaky perfectionist thought is holding you back, I want to invite you to just take a minute right now and download your thoughts. Download all the things you think that you need to and want to do to make that creative endeavor happen. So Jenny, I think you were talking about maybe making jewelry or something. So all of the steps that you're needing and wanting to take right now that you're possibly not because a perfectionist thought like, I don't know if somebody's going to buy this or whatever your thoughts are. We're going to leave the thoughts to the side for now and just come up with, even if it's just 5 or 6 small steps that you would want to get to take in order to complete this creative project or that you have happening right now. Okay, I'm just going to give you a minute to do that. And once you've downloaded, 5 or 6 of these ideas or these steps, the next portion is to decide. So we're going to come up with as many, again, these steps get to be really small, really doable. And if it's a step that's kind of open-ended, like let's say research, we can always Kaizenize using Kaizen, small steps to continuous improvement, or make delightfully doable something by time alone, which is what we're actually going to do on this call. And I think I'm going to Kaizenize our magic action that we're going to take during this call to just about 5 minutes, but to give ourselves permission to take some action during this call. You can always do something by, like, let's say it's working on wrapping presents or something, and that's something you don't like to do, or you feel like you need a huge amount of time to do it. Giving yourself permission to do something for just 15 minutes is a great way to start. And we were going to do a 15-minute magic action date on this call, but I think I'm gonna abbreviate it because I really want to get to the thought work on the other side of this. I think is going to be super helpful. So if you've chosen a project and if you've decided on a delightfully doable step, would you be willing to share, either pop it into the chat or just raise your hand and just tell me what your delightfully doable step is that you've chosen that's going to help you to move forward with a creative project that maybe a perfectionistic thought has been holding you back on. And then we're going to actually take some action. Yeah, Sherry.
Am I muted?
Nope, I can hear you.
I wrote down 5 things that I will be completing by today, and my new book has just come out. My donor's letter for a donation that I can then continue to give women time away at Sanctuary to enjoy themselves. And I actually hired a woman to help me with marketing, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. I'm looking at it where this morning I looked at it and I felt overwhelmed. So thank you.
Good.
Perspective, right?
Nice. Very good. Oh, and congratulations on your book.
Thank
Yay,
you.
that is so awesome.
I'm
Yeah. So do you,
excited because I was vulnerable, which I had writer's remorse for 3 days. And then I received word from several people that they no longer were afraid of dying, and that they had a horrible experience in a mental hospital. So I figure, check, if I helped one person, then I did my job. So
Absolutely. Oh, I love that thought. That is a thought that can really serve us, especially if we have thoughts of like, not enough people will like this, who's going to read this, who's going to buy this, who's going to want to hire me, whatever those limiting beliefs are. I do think that a lot. I will post something or create something and think, if it helps one person,
yeah.
you know, then I've the start. And the other thing that I think for us to remember is, even when we know we've helped one person, what we don't know is the 10 or the 100 or the 1,000 people that we've helped who never raised their hand to tell us, or who we don't know because it's so far, the ripple effect, they're further away from us. So yeah, that's definitely.
Thank you.
Okay. So picking one of those then on your list to take a 5-minute, to take action on for the next 5 minutes. How about you, Jane? Did you come up with something that you would want to take action on?
I making a 1-minute video and on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, that's a
Bravo,
great one. A good enough. What do you say? I love putting the word
Right.
good enough in front of everything. To me, that's the instant perfectionistic blocker, is to be like, okay, I went live at 10 o'clock today. You know, when you're live, you're super vulnerable because you can't, you know, if you F it up, it's there. There's no edit. There's no, oh, I'm not going to post that. And so I think actually going live has been a great way for me to put the kibosh on some of my perfectionistic tendencies, because
Okay.
it's just playfulness.
Challenge accepted.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
You'll do
You're
great,
gonna
Jane.
go get live on for a minute on Instagram. Okay. Sounds good. Jenny,
Oh,
do you have
Wow,
something?
I'm impressed. Go, girl.
How about you, Jenny? What are you gonna do?
How do you do this?
I'm going to pick 2 projects to work on today. One is going to be a finishing something, and one is going to be a new one. And
Okay.
just right now, my dining room table has probably 50 projects on it. So
Yes, can't do 50 all at once, even though the brain wants us to think that we can.
3, and then I said, no, we're doing 2. 1, you finish something, and 2, you get to do a brand new one. So
Awesome. Okay, so you're going to take 5 minutes action on the choosing? Choosing. Okay, perfect. All right, how about you, Mary Beth? You have anything that you want to share?
I'm still stuck in the I don't know what I should do process. I've got to, I've got sorting materials and all of those kinds of things that always seem to, and the cleanup that never seems to get done before I get to the projects.
Yeah. What would the project be on the other side of the cleanup for you?
Well, you know that I have the glasswork and stuff that I haven't touched for years and years while I ran my business.
Mhm.
And so I keep going back to, I really have all these things in the garage and I really should set that up again.
Mhm.
And I really should do this, that, and the other. And of course I never do.
Yeah, and should, yeah, that should too, versus I get to, like I get to, I
Yes.
want to. How about this, Mary Beth? Do you have any pieces in your house that you created in the past?
Yes.
What
do.
if you spent in this next 5 minutes, what if you went and found one or two of those and then just spent some time looking at them and kind of remembering what it felt like to create them. And if you're brave enough or want brave enough, I mean, we're an accepting, creative, loving crowd. So if you would you want to show them and share them with us when we get back, that would be great too. But sometimes it's just that it's even touching it, right? It's not, that's the first step, is just to remember, why did I love this so much? What was it about it that I enjoyed? And it let our brain open the window just a little bit to your brain going, ooh, wait a minute, we've got all this stuff in the garage. Let's figure out some small steps to make that happen. But it's a good first step sometimes. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, great.
To make
Okay, so
the
everybody, if you
myself-
will mute yourself, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then we will meet back here and kind of share how that went. Okay? All right, y'all. At our, no, that's a speedy 5 minutes, but still had the opportunity to, for me, I had wanted to get the link to share with y'all to, for the Magic Action Deep Dive, if you're not already signed up for that, if you're interested, and for the Clarity Call, if you've never had one of those before, those are both, put those links in the chat. Jane, what happened with yours? What'd you do? I looked for you.
Okay, so I spent about a minute trying to figure out how to do it, and then I got on the page, and I clicked it. Still didn't know if it was like nothing was happening, telling me that it was happening, but I did it anyway, right?
There you go. Right.
So I just talked like I was on, and it was it was not a full cart or what, things were falling off the cart at first, but I called that out. I just stayed with it, called it out, went to the breath, talked about anxiety, and mentioned that, and then we did a little breathing, probably a minute breathing exercise. And so I don't know that it's on there, but
Perfect. But the thing is, it's like that was your video
that
shitty
was
first draft, right? I mean,
that was my draft. I did
Yeah.
my draft. I'm not so afraid anymore. I even talked about fear. So
yeah. Oh, and
I
that's the
know you
thing,
did
right?
a
It gives
great
you
job.
such an opportunity to talk about the things that you are experiencing yourself. You really get to be an example of what's possible. And so if you're familiar with Anne Lamott, who she talks about the shitty first draft, we can do that for everything. It doesn't have to be just writing, which I love it for writing, but like, yeah, because actually sitting there and holding the camera in front of your face that way, and as you would when you were live, even if you're not, and like, okay, what would I talk about? Like you had the opportunity to experience it just without the live part.
yes, I got
And
to
I will
figure that
tell
out.
you that Instagram just changed everything.
Right.
And so it took me a bit to figure everything out as well. So good for you for trying that. So does it feel more like it will be more doable now in the future when you do it?
Yes.
That's so great. And I
Yeah.
love that since you're focusing on on speaking now, like you can do mini speaking engagements, like people, 2 minutes, on every now and then on live would be a great way to just embody Jane, the speaker.
Believe me, it's been on my list for months. Okay.
See?
Just
Okay, so this is
You
what I love.
did
It's
it
been on her
today.
list for months. We took a freaking 5 minutes magic
Wow.
action date and she did it.
I needed all y'all to hold this space for me. Thank you, Dragonfly.
Wow. I'm just so excited for you, Jane. I know you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Even just to have taken that step. So good.
Butterflies.
What did you do,
I have it.
Sherry?
Well, I have been cooking my billionaire donors update, and it's with my crystal cross, candles, the words, everything, for like 2 weeks. And my perfectionism is like, oh, it needs to be cooked one more day. And so today is the day. I went upstairs, I got my draft, everything, my book. I wanted to send him a copy of the book, and all the people that Sanctuary for Life has been able to help because of his donation. Huge diversity because of the pandemic. I mean, A to Z, women abused, housing, food. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to write it and send it out today. So I'm just like Jane, I did it, or I'm doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, sometimes we just need that. I mean, and and quite frankly, this is this is what I do for my clients week after week after week, because is hold the space for them to stop and think about what is it that I really want to be doing. We figure out what's holding them back, and then do it, and then come up with those delightfully doable steps to take action on it. So
You're a good,
so good. Congratulations, Sherry. That's so fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you and the world. Jenny, how about you?
I did what I said. I found an old one to work on that I really like, that I've wanted to finish, and like, what why haven't I? So that makes me excited. And then some really pretty new things I got that I want to put together because they're so pretty. So,
Awesome.
Good.
and it was good.
Awesome.
I could just ignore the other.
Yeah, and it's that you're giving yourself permission to focus on those two. You're not saying goodbye to the rest of those on the table forever and ever, just for right now. Yeah. So much more freeing. And that's what, so the magic action date, those of you that are familiar with it. So tomorrow, the magic of it, I think, is holding that space. So even for 5 minutes, right, we can see what we can accomplish. And then like tomorrow night, the deep dive will be 3 50-minute action phases combined with a couple of creative, play breaks. And then some time ahead of time to figure out exactly what do I want to do during those 3 50-minute action phases. And it's just amazing when we hold the space for each other and we have that accountability that we're doing it not just for ourselves, because we can put something on our to-do list and it can fall down to the bottom of our to-do list day after day, week after week, month after month. But there's something truly magical about this, like, okay, group accountability. We are going to, get into this together and spend this time doing this. And we're basically pledging to ourselves that we're not going to do laundry, scroll on Facebook, play a game, whatever the other things that we say we're going to do. We get to have the permission. It's very liberating to say, I'm just going to do this one thing. So that's what's happening with that. Mary Beth, were you able to get your, go find something that you'd created?
Well, what's interesting is that I look around and all the ones that I have, like, on the thing or whatever, are things that I did when I took a class. And so, and I know you and I have talked about this before, is that I perform better when I have other people there. I sign up for something, I go to the class because I think, well, I can go to the garage and I can clean out the stuff, but I don't remember how to do it. So why bother getting it all ready because I don't remember how to do it? And it's like getting myself to some place where there's a teacher that helps me make that transition to, now I remember, now I can get out there, now I can do it.
Yeah, and that's good to know. And classes are a great way to hold ourselves accountable and to have that group, togetherness, and everybody's focusing on the same thing. Yeah, and even now, like, there's a lot of like YouTube kind of things, like even if you're unable to do something like that in person. So the next thing that this is the part that I really wanted to be sure that we had time to share today. And I want to share some of these sneaky perfectionistic thoughts that might not even, you may have them and not even consider them as being perfectionistic, but they kind of can be. So I'm going to share a few of those with you. I have to wait until I have every single thing I even think I might possibly need, every piece of information, every possible supply, extra supplies, all the things before I can begin. And that can stop us. I love the inverse of that being, what can I do with what I have right now? Within not only, my world, my home, but like right now, what can I do? What step can I take? And even if that's a thought action, right, a belief action. So that's one. Another one is, I can't start until I am 100% sure I'll have a huge chunk of time to work on my project. So we've just proven the fallibility, the reason why that doesn't hold water, because in 5 minutes, people were able to take an action or have an aha that's going to help move them forward. So we don't have to wait for the large chunks of time. And that's a big one that holds people back quite often. Another thought is, my creative ideas may not be relevant or good enough. If we start thinking about judging ourselves and not getting to the thought that Sherry shared of, like, even if it helps one person, even if it resonates with one person, it's worth it. And also remembering, if it's in our mind, in our heart, it is likely going to be in somebody else. We're not such silver unicorns that we're having these thoughts and ideas that nobody else on the planet is going to be interested in, right? It's very likely that they are needed. Another thought is I need one more certification. I need to take one more course. I need to get some more experience under my belt before I can begin again. Now, this is different, Mary Beth, than what you're saying as far as is being in a class for the accountability of it. This is more like I can't possibly, sell my course, or I can't, those kind of things where you're saying I can't, you're holding yourself back from doing the thing that you want to do. I can't open my online store until I have 20 pieces versus the 3 pieces that I have, that kind of thing. Another thought is the thing I want to create has already been created by somebody else who's wildly successful. That may be true, but it hasn't been created the way you're going to create it. And the other thing about thoughts like this is even if it's true, which thoughts really aren't true or false, but let's say it was, does it serve me to think that? That's my next backup question that I love to ask when we hit upon a thought that, like, okay, you may be able to convince me that's true, but does it serve you to sit in that thought and believe that thought? And if not, then we practice releasing that and moving on to a different one. I should wait for the ideal time to share what I've created. So this 2020 has been a great example of that not being a helpful thought, a perfectionistic thought that can hold people back. I can't tell you the number of people who have said, and I'm sure you've heard it too, well, it's a pandemic. I can't do X, Y, or Z because it's a pandemic. And then I have clients who are having amazing success, the best success they've ever had during a pandemic, because we didn't allow this to be their predominant thought. Started looking for creative ways to show up as a personal brand photographer, as a sound healer, as an improv teacher, and found ways to be in the world, creative ways to not let this be an excuse to hold us back. I need the perfect time. As a matter of fact, I haven't decided exactly what it's going to be yet, but for me, December is a month to do it. Like, I feel like a lot of people want to use December as like, it's the end of the year, it's the holidays. Like, I'm going to wait till January. I am all about getting some major momentum happening in December. So I am hitting the ground running. I'm already doing what I want to do in January versus waiting to January 1st. And then you make a resolution and then it's January 15th before you really get started. Why not just like go into 2021 with everything that you need to succeed? So that's my thought on that.
Bravo.
Not enough people will like or understand my creative offerings or be willing to pay for them if it's a business. Again, not a helpful thought, right? And something that I like to remind my clients of that I think we forget because we do get in our bubbles. There are billions of people on the planet, billions, and we are not separated now. We can, oftentimes on these calls, I have people joining me from all around the world. And so we're just not separated anymore, and we have access to each other. And again, if there's one person who likes your stuff or who is interested or wants to read it or has bought it or reaches out to you, there's 10, there's 100. I always think it's just a matter of adding zeros, and it's a matter of showing up consistently, believing that. So you start to kind of grow. I visualize it as growing the people around my campfire. Like, I started with just a few people that I knew really well around my campfire, and now it's growing, and more people are with me. So, I think this is the last one. Nope, this is the one that we started with. I need every single thing that I can think I possibly need before I can begin. So, having a thought like this, right? If this is our predominant thought, or a thought like this is our predominant thought, what happens is that thought leads to feelings. So this particular thought that I'm sharing right here, I need every single thing I can even think of before I can begin. That thought is likely to lead to lack and uncertainty. And when we're in lack and uncertainty, the actions that we take would be continue to research, maybe keep reading, keep buying supplies, collecting, but not actually doing, creating, and sharing the thing that you want to do, create, and share. One example might be if your creative dream is to have a podcast, but your thought is, I need every single thing that I might possibly need, every piece of information, supply, extra supplies before I can begin. This fills you with feelings of lack and not enough. And you might spend weeks and weeks, and you might spend months researching the best microphone, the best podcasting software, in the right intro and outro music, making sure you had an exhausted list of topics, lining up dozens of guests in an attempt to make up for those feelings of lack and not enough. And then you look up and a day or a month or a year has flown by and you still haven't recorded a single episode of your podcast. But the good news is that when we have awareness of these thoughts that are holding us back, we can shift them and change them. So in asking ourselves, is this thought true? Often we report it like the weather. We report it like it's true. It's 37 degrees and raining outside, and I really do need all of these things before I can start my podcast. But it's not true. So we can ask ourselves, how do I want to feel? Well, if I don't want to feel lack and uncertainty, I want to feel that I do know enough, that I can begin with what I have and choose the thoughts that serve me. So a thought that leads to sufficiency and certainty rather than lack and uncertainty might be, I have everything I need to start, or I know what I want to do. Even something that simple can shift us into action. So another thought we'll share that we went over before is, what if people don't like or understand my creative offerings? That kind of thought could lead to feelings of shame, defeat, and then the actions you might take would be to undervalue your creative offerings, or don't offer them at all, or make excuses, or get into that habit of letting everybody else's stuff and needs come ahead of your own. But when we catch the thought, and even though it feels really true and factual, but we catch it and realize it's just a thought, and it's a thought that makes me feel ashamed and defeated, so I don't want it. Sometimes we're not trying to get all the way from shame and defeat to fantastic, wonderful. That's too big of a jump. That's 0 to 60 in one jump. We're just looking for a way to get to neutral. So in other words, we're not trying to go from shame and defeated to proud and triumphant in one step. That's not always possible. So we might be looking for a thought that can help us to get to the feeling of just neutral. And that thought might be, it's possible that somebody somewhere on the planet of billions of people will understand and appreciate my creative offering enough to pay me for it. And that won't have you doing backflips, but it will help you to move out of shame and defeat and those actions and non-actions, and get you into a place where, from a neutral space, you can calmly figure out and decide on your next delightfully doable step to take. So, based on that feeling of like looking for a neutral thought, is there anybody that could, like, one of these thoughts, if any of these thoughts that we just talked about, if you could relate to those, what that would be, and if you would be able to come up with a neutral, look at all these slides I made for you that I imperfectly did not share because I was just talking up a storm. Thoughts don't equal facts. Yeah, so this is the way it is. This is the thought leading to the feeling, leading to the action. So I have everything I need to get started and I know what I'm doing, leads to feelings of sufficiency and certainty that helps you to take action right now with the information and the supplies that you have available right now. Yeah, I've already shared this with you. So neutral. Okay, so how about y'all? Does anybody have a thought that you feel like that's holding you back, that you could shift to just a different thought that would, again, not get you to the exact opposite of where you are now, but to neutral? Does anybody have one of those that you either have that you want to share or that you would like my help with trying to come up with? Yeah, Mary Beth.
I get stuck in the parts of, doing it because of not having people that want to pay for it, that kind of thing, that I can't get to the creativity for creativity's sake.
Mm-hmm.
I can just say, it's like, well, I don't wear jewelry anymore. So because I'm not working. So why should I bother making jewelry? Because it's just doesn't. So it's like the creativity for creativity's sake versus doing it for a ultimate sale or client or show or something like that. So I don't do it at all.
Yeah. So you're looking for a thought that can get you just into creating for the sake of creating.
Yeah, for enjoyment.
Yeah.
I used to have hobbies, is how I used to say it. I used to have hobbies, and it was okay to have hobbies, but
Yeah.
somehow now, if the hobby doesn't generate enough whatever to become something I can sell, then I just don't do it. I don't do it as a hobby.
Yeah. So I like to think of other things in life that you're not alone on this. So I like to help people think of other things in life that give you joy that you don't expect to be paid for. So, I mean, this could be anything. I could be a real smart ass right now, but I'm not going to. But
Oh, please do.
anything like, even like you don't hug your partner or your spouse because you expect to get paid for it, right? It's a pleasurable feeling that you get and they get, and the exchange of energy is in the hug. We don't travel usually. We don't take vacations because we expect to somehow be able to turn that pleasurable experience into a money-making venture. So for me, I would say, to what if, Mary Beth, you looked for that? What are things in my life that I enjoy that there's no way in heck I would try to find a way to get paid for them, because I know that there are parts of life that are just for the joy of it, right? Like spending time with people, going for a walk in nature. These are things, what makes life worth living, and just looking for those things that exist. So it's not a reach. You don't have to make it up, because they're really looking for the things in life that bring you joy. And then starting in a super small way. Okay, what's one super small, delightfully doable, creative experience that I could have, and remembering like I get to have it and enjoy it for the same reason I take walks, like to take my dog for a walk, or for the same reason I like to sit in front of the fire with my partner and play Scrabble, or whatever the things are in life that you like to do. Does that sound like something that might be a possible
That
road?
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, though, because you're not alone. You're definitely not the only person. And so I want anybody who's watching this on the replay to take that same, if that's what's stopping you, take that same kind of tact. Sherry, how about you? Is there anything that you came up with that you're able to shift a bit?
Oh, well, yes, I've been in the shifting process for a while now. I loved giving everything away and never charging for anything. And so selling my book is new for me. And I still find myself wanting to give it away. And I remind myself this is a business, and I am helping people set up their sanctuary at their homes or their offices, and that to keep it as a business. So I am on a whole new wavelength now. Yet if someone does not have the money, I will give it to them in a second.
Yeah, it's like having that exchange of energy too, right? It's like you have created something of value.
Mhm.
And likely, I'm guessing, in a book form, whatever the book costs versus the a massive transformation that they could experience in their life is going to be like they're getting the deal of the century. You know what I mean? So even just reminding yourself of that, even looking back at all of the stories that you've collected of people whose lives have been changed by time at the sanctuary or by reading a story of yours, and just remembering like there's great value in this. And the other part of that is when somebody steps up and invests in themselves, whether it's whatever it is, right? If it's investing in buying a book, buying a course, like Mary Beth was saying, she's more likely to show up for and do her art if she's paid somebody to take a course. There's that accountability. Paying for coaching, they're going to get more out of it. I mean, it's just true. Like, for example, you all decided that you wanted to be here and you were here today. A lot more people signed up to be here on the live call. It's a free call that I offer because I do want to give value, and I do want to help people transform in a way that doesn't cost anything and let them get to know me. But because it's free, sometimes people are like, but I don't have to show up. Now, if I had charged $5,000 for this call, and they'd be here. So it's a thing to remember, that exchange and energy is important for that reason too, not just for ourselves and what we're going to get from it, but from what the people that we're, you know, working with and sharing with are going to get from it. How about you, Jenny?
Well, I had it was the same as Mary Beth, you know, just this feeling of if I create something, you know, there probably no one who will want to buy it. Now, I know what you're going to say, Jill, because you've actually bought one of my pieces, and so have other people. So I'm over that. I know that, you know, people will buy them. But I still have that feeling that, oh, so many people make jewelry. Why should I? Yeah, that's still a big
Yeah.
one.
So that's so that, and that thought leads to lack, not enough, like opposite of abundance and sufficiency, right? And so it's just, that's the first step, Jenny, you know, that is just seeing that thought. And here's another thing I love to do with our thoughts is if we write them down and write in front of it, thought. When you see it on a piece of paper with like, oh, this is a thought. This is not the gospel truth. This is not an absolute. This is not,
A fact.
this is not a fact, right? A true gold fact. This is my thought. And then the question, is this thought serving me? No, it is not serving me to think that there are not a lot of people out here who want my jewelry. And then looking for that thought. So what would be a thought, Jenny, that for you could just get you to neutral, not all the way to like, woohoo, everybody on the planet wants a Jenny, you know, original, which they, plenty of them do, but what could get you to neutral?
Well, one thing that I do, I mean, this is a thought that helps me get to neutral, is that it doesn't matter whether anybody else wants to buy this. I'm just going to wear it myself. So,
There you go. There's one. Another thought that just came to me is like, how will I know if I don't put it out there?
true.
If I don't offer it to people, if I don't show people these wonderful pieces that I'm making, of course they can't buy them. They don't know they exist.
Right. Right. That's
Which
really,
again, I think that's a pretty neutral thought. I think that's not like a million people are going to want to buy all of my things, but I do like that concept. Like Sherry was keeping a list of the success stories and the people that had reached out to her and had transformation. And Jenny, you know, going back and thinking about the people who have purchased your jewelry in the past and the pieces that you love, and just letting your mind play in possibility of adding the zero. You know, if you have one client, that means you can have 10 clients. If you sell one book, you can sell 10, you can sell 100. It's just adding the zeros to it. So that's another thing that I love to think about and remind myself and remind the people that I work with. So just to wrap up, tomorrow, like I said, I put the link in there. I'm doing this Magic Action Deep Dive, which is 4 hours with 3 large 50-minute accountability action phases and a couple of breaks in between. It's a lot of fun. You'll be working with other multi-passionate creative people and just holding the space and the energy for each other to really dive in and get some action taken on a project that you want, either for business or professional. So that's available to you. And the link is, I will send you a follow-up, but the link is also in the chat. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to offer you a discount for that since you were here with me live today. If you want to use the discount 25 friend discount, that'll save $25 on the registration for that. If you want to do that today or tomorrow, and we'll meet tomorrow night at 6 p.m.
At 6. Okay.
Yeah. 6 to 10 Central time.
And do you do private sessions via
Yes.
phone or Zoom?
Yes, either way, both. So the
So
second,
how would we contact you through this link?
yeah, the second link that I put in the Creative Oasis Clarity call, that would be the link for that. And I will also send you an email.
Thank you, because I don't see it.
What's the yeah, with the story, my story that y'all wanted to borrow and that I want to give you. I will send you a follow-up with that story.
That's priceless in itself.
And those 2 links. Oh, thank you, Sherry. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's the complimentary Creative Oasis Clarity call. That link is in that as well. We can stay connected via Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, that's it. Like I will be doing these pretty sure I'm going to continue to do these in 2021. Like I said, I have this little thing bubbling up for maybe a December let's do it challenge or something, because I'm really in the energy of not waiting until January to get started. And I
Amen.
think a lot of other people are as well. Well, here's how I think about it. If I'm feeling that way, another person is feeling that way, 10 people are feeling that way, 100 people are feeling that way. So I will be sure and let you all know about that though. So if you wouldn't mind, would anybody be willing to share like one aha, one takeaway that our time together today that you're going to be able to take forward with you and help you on your creative journey?
I will.
Okay.
This is not the first time I've tried to learn this lesson. So sometimes you just have to do it enough until it sticks. And that is, you don't need 4 hours to do something. You can use the 30 minutes that you have right now and sit down at your table and do something. So that's a big one for me, because I always want everything to be just right. And so.
You know what really helps me with that, Jenny, is yes, repetition, practice, but is actually using the timer. Because if I just tell myself nebulously that I'm going to sit down and do something for 15 minutes, it doesn't feel, there's that structure, that container of the 15 minutes of time isn't there. So even just setting my, that I use one of my productivity measures that I use, or I do a 53-minute action phase with a 17-minute break. And boy, when I set that timer for 53 minutes, I'm good. I am not hopping up to do laundry. I am not getting on social media. Because it feels so freeing to me that I get that next amount of time, whether it be 15 minutes or, as we saw today on the call, 5 minutes or 53 minutes, where I'm just like focused. It's like I have blinders on in the best way, because I'm not looking at other things. I've given myself permission to focus on one thing, and we're such a multitasking society that I think permission to focus on one thing, whether it's for our enjoyment or for work, is huge.
Yeah, that's really true.
Thank you for sharing that, Jenny, and thank you for being here. How about you, Sherry? What's something that you could take with you?
I love the fact that instead of saying I should, I'm now going to rephrase that I get to.
Yay. Makes my heart happy.
That's
That's
powerful.
such a simple one, but it's so powerful.
Simple,
The
but
energy,
powerful.
the energy behind I have to, I should, I need to is just very closed off, controlling energy. And I get to is open, what if, allowing energy.
Exactly.
And when we
Such a
allow,
difference.
it's just
So
it's
tomorrow
freedom.
night is 6 to 9.
It's 6 to 10 on Thursday night. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you will, when you sign up, you'll see I'm actually sending prompts out ahead of time. That way you'll really come to the call knowing exactly what it is that you're wanting to do, have your intention set, and make the best use of your time when you're there.
Well, thank you.
How about you, Mary Beth? You have one thing that you can take away with you that's going to help you moving forward?
I can unmute myself. I think there's actually two that are sort of interwoven. Is the, what do you do in life that you don't expect to get paid for?
Right.
Because, I mean, I've spent the creative part of my landscape business being paid for that part. And so trying to just say, well, these other things I haven't done because they were hobbies. There's nothing wrong with it being a hobby.
Absolutely.
And I do go back to what Jenny said is, there's so many people out there making jewelry, for example, or beads or glass or whatever. So why should I? But, you also I'm on several of those groups that people show their jewelry and things. And, there's just as many times where I go, oh my God, these people are so good. I'm not worthy. And there's just so many people where I look at it and go, well, I could have done that.
Right.
And they're out there going, how do I sell this? And I'm thinking, well, I could have made that. So
Their thought isn't that they're not having the thought, nobody will want this. They're having the thought, I like making jewelry. It's fun to make jewelry. Somebody out there is going to want my jewelry.
Exactly. And I'm just like going, well, how did they getting to that thought of, if I do it
Practicing
for a
for
hobby
one
and
thing.
nobody buys it, who cares?
Yeah.
Coupled with certainly somebody out there is going to want this.
Yeah.
Kind of hopefully gets us over that hump of not doing anything.
And if-
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you all being here live with me so much. I appreciate you. If you're watching this on the replay, feel free to share this with people, with friends that you think would enjoy it. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much. All the best from my Creative Oasis to yours.
Thank you, Jill. You're
Bye.
fabulous. Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank
That is
you.
as usual.
Bye.
Bye.